Yeah.
You know?
So,
Sure.
welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another exciting episode of the Jaded Mechanic Podcast. I'm sitting down here with a couple people that I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves because I've just met them for the first time, but they're from our friends at Tekmetric. So, introduce yourself, guys.
Sure.
Go ahead.
All right. Typically, I would say ladies first, but the lady has deferred.
I have given you the microphone.
I am Aaron Szafran.
Welcome, Aaron.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. My first experience in a podcast. So, maybe this is my entry into being the next Joe Rogan. Perhaps.
He is in Houston, so we can make a thing out of this.
We could maybe that's next.
Yeah.
I like it. I've been with Tekmetric a couple of years now as a former user. So it's funny you were talking about that.
Right
I come from the automotive side.
Sweet.
So not a traditional software fella myself. I was about a decade in automotive repair. Not a technician, not a mechanic. Ran shops very well and passionately. And frankly, the last shop that I operated switched over to Tekmetric for the last couple of years I was there, and that has brought me to where I am today.
Right.
It was the experience that I had with that transition that got me to, of course, research Tekmetric more, and I'm very grateful to be where I am.
They're a great company. Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I have to. He's in Austin, not Houston, so we'll have to switch cities.
Yeah,
I saw
that's
your face
right,
and I was
yeah.
like, hold on, not there. Amber Wright. I am VP of Business Development at Tekmetric, so I oversee our channel relationships with our partners.
Okay.
Really helping to understand how we can drive mutual value to companies, but at the end of the day, how are we driving the best possible outcome for our shops together? So whether that be through partnerships like BG or Advance or WorldPack, those are the relationships that Aaron and the rest of our team get to work with on a daily basis to really go out and in the field with our customers and prospects that are not using Tekmetric to really understand, how can we continue to meet them where they are, help them to evolve their shops, streamline their processes.
Yes.
So those are the things that we on a daily basis think about and continue to drive the status quo. And so I have a unique background. I do not come from the automotive background, although I have been in the industry for 5 years. My background's in psychology.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, so Roll Tide, I went to Alabama, but I just had to put it there because they're playing the Dogs this weekend. So my husband
Go Dogs!
and I, no, Roll Tide.
We got dogs on our team too,
I know.
so it's a fun dynamic.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I've worked in a lot of different industries. I worked in the financial industry prior to this industry and a few others. And I have truly fallen in love with the people in this industry. It is a family and a community, and everybody is wanting to help shape and grow. I think that there is a unique thing that you find at these shops that, I hope that people are listening to your podcast and it allows them to say, hey, maybe I'm going to come to a show that I've never come to, because it creates a synergy and a community of transparency, like just vulnerability, and running a shop is very difficult, right? You work hard, and having the community around each other and being able to share experiences and how best practices of how they got through a certain situation or the tools that they're using and how it works. I have truly fallen in love with this industry, and there is so much more that we collectively can do, and it's an honor to be at Tekmetric, to be able to be a part of that growth and transition and continue to push the status quo of what we can help shops do.
And I talk about how the new business that I'm at now does not use Tekmetric, and it's back to, again, the ways that I remember how some of the inefficiencies are more rampant, or more because it's just we're using a different software system that hasn't integrated into so many levels. You know what I mean? And you're back to doing old school. You're picking up the phone, and ordering that, or you're picking up the phone and having to call them and ask them pitch an estimate because you don't have a video DVI integrated into it. Like there's so many things. I just had a class this morning with Mrs. Becky Witt, and she talked about, like, she showed her numbers and everything. And it's essentially like the shop costs almost $6 a minute to run.
Promotive started because a couple industry friends and I were hanging out, and we realized that the number one challenge all the shops that we worked with for many decades faced was finding technicians. You hear technician shortage over and over out there, and we're not bringing kids into the industry today, and there's thankfully lots of other companies out there who do focus on that. But we believe that part of the technician shortage is the leakage coming out of the funnel. The people that are working with shops or dealers that aren't treating them right, they're just paired with the wrong environment, with the wrong owners. The technicians, instead of looking for new jobs and new opportunities, decide to leave the industry, or they get jaded on it. And we believe that there's a fit out there for the right techs with the right shops. And if we do that, then they're going to stay in the industry, and we're going to help, at the end of the day, the shortage by keeping technicians in the field. Promotive started just by realizing there's really not that many resources for technicians. Of course, there's certifications that they can get, and they can advance their skill set by doing hands-on training, or they can advance their skill set by testing, but there's not that many companies out there focused on making the technicians more successful in other areas. For example, knowing what their career path can be if they don't want to stay as a technician in the future.
Right, your loaded costs of into your technicians, and that's assuming at a door rate of, I think she said, like $140 an hour, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
So when you think about all that, what it's costing, and then you have all these relatively easy things to remedy from an efficiency standpoint, yet we see so many people that still want to do paper tickets and, not utilize the DVI that way. Like, and then they wonder why at the end of the month, end of the week, end of the year, we didn't hit the goal that we wanted to in growth or revenue or whatever you want to call it, right?
Yeah.
And it's just little things like that.
Yeah.
So
it's the 1% more that you can be doing every single day, right? And it's also the way that Tekmetric has been built is there's multiple different packages, right? Because we recognize that by putting a scale package where you have all the bells and whistles, there's shops out there that are coming from pen and paper. There's shops that are coming from QuickBooks. And how many times do we hear, I've done this for so many years, it's worked, why change it? But like you just said, there's things that you can do to just like 1% better, right? You can change adding DVIs into your process, right? We went through a case study on one of our calls today that a customer saw 53% higher close ratio just by using DVIs, right? How impactful is that on a shop to be able to meet a customer where they are, right? Because right now, the reality is the customer is either a Gen Z or millennial, and they grew up with technology and they want things in front of their face, right? They want to consume information differently. And so we have to meet our customers where they are. And so by providing that, we're driving transparency and trust, and then, more work for you. And
look at how many people you can't even reach when you try to dial a phone.
Sure.
Yeah.
Like they just won't answer. They'll answer texts, they'll answer TikToks, they'll answer, Snapchats all day long. If you try and dial them, they just can't answer.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
don't leave me a voicemail because I'm not going to listen to it. Sorry.
Well, and that's, truthfully, right? Like, and I mean, and the AI thing is so cool too when I see that, how more and more people are integrating that into their processes as well.
Sure.
It's just, but you're right about the Gen Zs, because I'm not a Gen Z, so it's like it's hard for me to even relate sometimes. I'm a Gen X, so it's like, what the heck? Like I can't relate, but because I can remember when everything was the norm was paper tickets, and we didn't do a DVI. We did an inspection.
Sure.
But we didn't take photos of anything. We grabbed the customer and walked them out and showed them the broken car, or we just called them up. And they said, okay, and they never saw. It's so much more power now, and that's the big buzz ticket topic with technicians now is DVI. And it's like, it's a real hated thing from some. and it's an absolutely powerful tool from another. It just depends on the culture that you put around it as a tool, right? If they begrudgingly take it on and they're looking at the time, and we're not, converting a 53% better close rate, that's huge. That the technicians, but if it's not because we're not converting, then they look at it as just something that slows the process down.
Of
So,
course.
you can't just make it a magic fix-all and throw it at the wall and watch it stick. You have to integrate it with something else and make it work, right? It becomes a whole other shift. It's powerful, but, us mechanics are reluctant to change.
Sure.
Humans are reluctant
Yes.
to
Yes.
change. But in change, there's so much. I mean, I say change mocks us with its beauty. I actually think that was an Olaf quote from Elsa.
I have not seen the movie.
It's really powerful. I mean, think about change and failure, right? Success comes out of failure. You don't learn things until you fail, you can, but usually it comes out of really big failures, and we're all scared to fail. We're scared to change.
Yeah.
But that is the only way you grow, and you have to be uncomfortable with the uncomfortable, right? Being okay with accepting that and being willing to just have different processes. And I go to a lot of these events and I sit in a lot of the classes, and there's such valuable information. But I think where a lot of shop owners, even with technology, it can happen is when you take on more than you should.
Yes.
Right? Just things don't go well. You can quickly lose sight of the end goal and the why you're trying to change these processes, right? So if it's, we're trying to get more cars in, or we're trying to, more cars, you can use DVIs, customer reporting. Those are the things that you should focus on and the results that you're trying to achieve before bringing on all these concepts. And so the 1% thing is something that we talk about often, of just
Sure.
what's one thing that you can change.
Mechanics, going back to reluctant to change, it's because a lot of us, we see the constant tech changing. It would just in the car itself.
Sure.
Right? So it's and we remember when I used to crank up a window. And I'm dating myself, but I've driven.
My first car was
They're bringing that
crank up.
back out, by
Yeah.
the way. I don't know
My
if you saw.
Toyota Corolla was a crank up window.
Yeah.
with
Well,
a sound system
and you
in
almost
the
have to go back to some of the basic stuff again, because the people are going, these cars are getting to be so expensive. The features that I don't really care.
Yeah.
Can I get something a little bit cheaper? Because the technology to fix it all, right? And we talk about it from my standpoint, where it used to be I used to just push a button and it sent power somewhere and something happened. Now I push a button and it sends a signal and a request, and then that gets talked to on a network to a couple different modules to decide if something can then happen, right? Where it's taking things away from us. So the reluctance I see to go from, the program that they've always used is because some of us day to day are just trying to stay ahead of the tech that's going on in the car, and then we get here, go change this software system. It's tough, right?
Sure.
But you have to show us the benefit has to outweigh the frustration level. Technicians inherently are our best lessons that we've ever learned in our career. We learned the hard way.
Yeah.
And doing it, we learn it the hard way. The
Without
car
a
that
doubt.
kicked my butt was what shaped my process,
Absolutely.
right? And that's the same way. But you want to make it, when you're doing the business side of things, be a nice, smooth transition whenever possible.
Yeah.
So-
I think that's one thing as a company, right? We're really transitioning to be customer results driven, right?
Yeah.
And so in any conversation that we have with a customer, it has to become back to what is the result that the customer is trying to drive, right? In a shop. I mentioned more cars, but it's, make more money. There's a few different things. And so we can so easily get into this feature game with technology. But at the end of the day, if we're not driving the result that the shops need, they're not going to see a value in the
Yes.
technology that they're using,
Yeah.
right?
You
And
have-
so
Yeah.
you have to drive that result. And so we're really, over the last, 6 months and into the future of Tekmetric, going to be focusing on, if you are a new customer coming in, those are questions we're going to be asking you of what are you trying to drive, so that we can help you solve that. Of course, there's things that you're going to have to do in your shop to get there, but the technology should be able to help you get there quicker and take some of that load off of you.
Most automotive conferences, unfortunately, only focus on one side of the shop. But Tectonic 2026, presented by Tekmetric, is different. It's built for the whole shop. Owners, advisors, and technicians all have sessions designed for the work they actually do day to day. It's 3 days in Houston, packed with workshops, panels, and over 1,000 people from the industry are set to attend. And you don't need to be a Tekmetric customer to qualify. Hit up the link in the show notes below and check out Tectonic 2026. Register now while you still can to get the early bird pricing. It's driving trust, I think, is the biggest thing that, like,
completely agree.
I see shifting in this industry. And Lucas reminds me a lot of the time, like, sometimes the number one priority isn't necessarily to be able to fix the hardest cars to fix, but just have, like, everybody trust you. You know, your customers 100% trust you. That's where the things become easy. You know, that's when the customer, like, yes, we still have to conduct ourselves professionally, but their main priority then becomes, like, here's the keys, just let me know when I can have it back. You know, they've entrusted you to take care, and that's where we sometimes lose, is we get wrapped up in, like, I wanna be more efficient so I can drive more car count, or I want to be more efficient so I can boost my bottom line. That's great, but if we build more trust, we can almost dial back some of our marketing because it will handle itself. They would, like, I 100% trust L&N Performance as an example. I recommend them to everybody, all because of trust. It's not necessarily like we have taken on the most complex problems to solve, but they trust us 100% that what they say they're going to do, they do. It's huge, man.
Crucial.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know if maybe it was Mike Allen, but I saw something on Facebook the other day about what their coach said, and it's just like I think we definitely overcomplicate a lot of things. And if we simplify it, it really comes back to a shop. How much time are you spending with that customer to really hear and listen to what they're saying to build that trust, right? And to slow down and say, like, you know, there's a lot of, you know, I think it's, 5 times cheaper to retain a customer than it is to get a new acquisition of a customer. And so what are the things that you are doing into your shop to make sure that you are retaining those customers and building that trust? That's what you should be focusing on.
Not getting more necessarily. I mean, more customers is always great, but, like, I learned very early on, just as a technician, like, if I only had to work on 3 cars a day, but I could hit my 8 hours, 10 hours labor sold, that was way better than having to work on 20 cars at half an hour a car at a 0.5 an oil change each. Like, I would rather do 3 cars, you know, 5 hours on each car, walk home with 15 hours at the end of the day. That was way easier for me, right? And it's the same process. We just have to teach the shop owners that it's like, it's been the buzz phrase for the last 2 days is, you got to slow down to be smooth, and then smooth is fast.
Correct.
You know,
slow down to speed up.
Is it the tortoise wins the race?
That's right.
Yeah. Well,
maybe not that slow. I want to be a little faster.
I mean, I loved those fables as a child, but now as I age out, I'm like, there's no.
You can say
there's no effing way that tortoise.
It's my favorite F word.
Yeah.
Next to Friday.
Yeah.
It's okay.
There's no that the tortoise is beating the hare.
That's
like,
fair.
No matter how far off the hare goes into the woods, he merely only has to think about coming back and he'll beat the tortoise. But I know what the fable is about. It's a lesson there. It's not about speed.
Sure.
Right? Yeah. Diligence.
Absolutely.
What do you guys, when you walk into a shop, what's the number one thing and your people have come to you and say, Tekmetric, what's the biggest obstacle that they have?
I will let you. I have my own thoughts.
Yeah.
Well, we'll share them both, please. But
Go ahead.
So, are you thinking, more along the lines of an existing Tekmetric shop, or just a general shop maybe that's frankly probably utilizing a pen and paper type scenario at this point? Because in all honesty, it was fun that you brought that up from the get-go. That is still where we're getting most of our customers.
Yeah.
Is from a style, whether it's QuickBooks is maybe they have some type of we kind of maybe
rudimentary basic system. Yes.
So, I think that's one of the biggest challenges in the industry still, even at this point, with all of the technology that you see happening in cars and across the industry, is that there's still a lot of that old school mentality and approach that they've been doing it this way for 30 plus years. And the fear of change is a big challenge for a lot of these guys. We're into that moment of, I think I heard it being called the silver train here, where the average shop owner's age is over retirement age. So it's what's next for this industry. It's kind of an interesting time to be involved, of course, as well.
The average age of the average shop owner right now and the average age of the average technician is scary how advanced those ages are.
Correct.
It's scary.
And a lot of that technician challenge is frankly from like my age group, that 40-year-old group. It almost doesn't exist. There's just not a lot of them out there.
That was also because during when we were, they were pushing going
Four-year
to school,
colleges.
going to four-year
Debt.
colleges.
Get 'em
Absolutely.
into
So that
debt.
was the shift
where I'm
then.
at.
Yeah.
That's what we're seeing. I would say the other thing besides change management and the generational shift is also, I was going to say time, but the time comes back to they can't find talent to be in their shop to be able to spend time to implement something in their shop. So it's kind of like counterintuitive in a way if you think about it.
So they can't work on the business when they're in the business.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's probably the second biggest thing, which goes with, change management. I think that's probably it. And yeah.
I come from the background of like where when I worked at a dealership and I could jump brands and I would probably go and you know what? They were still using Reynolds at the next dealership, just as example of the name, right? So it was like, it was very easy to transition. You just have a new login number and a new tech number and everything is the same again. Yep. Whereas when I came out of, that kind of background and went into the independent shops where it's still pen and paper, and then I go to a shop where it's Tekmetric, and I was like, this is so cool, but there was such a learning gap for me of like how do I do that again? How do I do, like I'm a visual person. I have to write myself notes to remember. I had a cheat sheet of how to navigate Tekmetric. And that was the hardest obstacle in that shop of not going in and fixing cars or turning hours. But these people that had been using Tekmetric for like 2 years, it was hard. I struggled with coming in. I was like, I still remember commands from Reynolds, and then trying to, that's not the same command and it won't do the same thing. It was tough for me. Not because there was anything wrong with Tekmetric, but I'm just old school. Listen, here's what I wrote down. That's what the car needs. It's out in the parking lot. I'm bringing the next car, and they'd be like, "No, like we need that. Like, did you?" No, I didn't do any of that because I'm rushing. I'm looking at what do I have to get done today. Yeah. And I wasn't effective at slowing down to speed up. Yeah. Sure. So,
I think too the other part you brought up, you said something that kind of like jogged my thoughts a little bit there. But I think that there's this fear of going from the desktop to the cloud, right? Mm-hmm. Just like also the same concept with AI.
Yes.
What's going to happen with my data? And, those are things that you hear often. And I think it goes with just like what we're used to. But the other part of that is what happens when your computer crashes when you're on a server, right? That's actually worse than anything that can happen in the web.
Yeah.
And you own your data. And so it's just kind of this mentality shift of we have to step in as the consultants to be able to, we are the experts at technology, just like you are the experts at putting a car back together. So we have to be able to meet you where you are in your understanding of hey, this isn't actually a big scary thing. It's meant to help you in your process moving forward. But I think moving to the web is a big fear for a lot of people. Just the same pendulum of AI, people like AI, they don't like AI, we don't really know what's going to go on. And I think that there is, a level with AI that you should be concerned and just aware of what's happening and how it's going to be utilized. And that's exactly how we're looking at it of how is it learning? What is it learning? How are we going to utilize that? If we utilize that, what's that going to look like? Yeah.
I found the biggest obstacle too, what I've seen when Tekmetric has hit some road bumps on the limited experience I did have with it in the shop is because shop owners are not utilizing it to its full potential.
Yeah.
So they try to okay, so still write the estimate out on paper for me and hand it in, but then I'm going to do my side of the stuff on Tekmetric. And it's no, the whole system is designed to be all done in one platform by everybody to eliminate the paper trail. But because it was they weren't giving enough time to actually go in and do it in the computer. And it comes back to car count and the customer showed up 45 minutes late. So, the appointment was for this. All things that are not Tekmetric's fault breaking down in the process, but it's just, skip the process now. We throw the process away, throw it right in the trash, and go back to what we've always done. Sure. People that are listening that are shop owners are like, don't do that. Don't try to overcomplicate it by keeping some of the old stuff. And when you decide to make the change, jump in with both feet.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the most crucial, advice that you can give to a shop that's transitioning to, Tekmetric, a modern system, whether that's coming from pen and paper or their old system, even more specifically. Our system isn't designed to operate like the old system. Why would we be doing that?
I've heard of shops saying, I'm running two systems. Like I have the old system for this because I like that. I like how I can order parts through this, but I don't like that. Oh my God, how to make it even more complicated.
Yeah.
Why?
And if you pull the Band-Aid, as we say, if you rip the Band-Aid off and you commit to that change and to that new process, it's all about that process. The statistics are sound.
Yes.
They're there to support why we're successful and why we change people's lives all the time. Why I'm with Tekmetric.
Yeah.
It changed my life as a service manager. That's what motivated me to want to be able to go out and do that and help with other shop
So
owners
were you
too.
service manager in a dealership?
A little bit of both. Dealership was very short-lived. In fact,
Yes.
frankly, it was right before I joined with Tekmetric. They just took a while getting me the job. So I only worked 6 months as a service manager for a Ford Lincoln Toyota dealership, all in one single building, which was complicated enough.
It would be.
As well as a Kia dealership very shortly, literally, I kid you not, I don't think I've ever publicly spoken about this, but the day that I started at the Kia dealership is when Tekmetric finally called me back and we reopened the conversation on getting me over to Tekmetric.
Yeah.
So it was very short-lived at
It was a good
Kia.
day. We're glad to have him.
But I was a service manager for a Meineke Car Care Center in this is in New Hampshire, where I'm from, for about 5 years.
Yeah.
So with the assistance of what Tekmetric provided to us, we were able to grow that Meineke, specifically Little Concord, New Hampshire, from we were $1.5 million annual average revenue value shop upon my arrival, and upon my departure, we were $2.5 million and operating as the number 2 Meineke in the country.
Wow.
Tekmetric had a lot to do with that. Not exclusively. I was pretty good at my job, but Tekmetric had a lot to do with that. Because I was able to do so much more in terms of I got time back. You were talking about being on the phone all the time.
Yeah.
That was probably the biggest change for me, was not having to spend as much time on the phone with customers, on the phone with parts vendors. I was known to have 2 phones going at the same time, and I'd have the portable phone hooked to my belt at the same time as well. It was hours on the phone, and the amount of time just from that experience alone was life-changing. On top of the experience that you could enhance for the customers along the way, it really just changed so much for the way that shop was able to operate, the way I felt as an operator. Heck, I could do inventory for the first time in years, I tell you, because I didn't have time to get into the shop.
Yeah.
I was stuck on that desk all the time.
Yeah.
And that changed so quickly. So quickly.
Yeah, it's been a really cool experience to watch how shops have changed. And even just in the 24 hours that we've been here, how many shops come up and just say, Tekmetric has changed my life and my business. And that is why we continue to do what we do. And I think one of the things that, is really neat to see, you mentioned platform. And so we are making a shift into the all-in-one shop management platform. And so you kind of alluded to a lot of fragmentation in workflows in the shop, but also just in this industry, right? There is a lot of fragmentation that we see in technology, and the continuation of meeting our customers and listening to them and what they want. And so we've really, the core mission of Tekmetric was built on focusing on the general repair aspect, the repair aspect of the shop and how to run it, and make sure that what we build is the most efficient and best process, right? Tekmetric was built by a shop owner for shop owners. And so there's a lot of folks at Tekmetric that have background in the industry, who've worked in shops. It's a continuation of understanding what's going on, but it's also, as we continue to build, making sure that we can help each part of the customer experience. So being able to offer online booking, right? Right now, that is the way that, the customer wants to be met. So how are we helping support that? Are we giving automated appointments reminders, right? The dental and hair salon industry, like they do such a good job, and there's a lot to be learned through that. How many times when you have a dental appointment are you going to get that appointment reminder, right? And so like just being able to continue to bring back business in. So everything from the online booking, appointment reminders, campaigns to continue to have automations to get people back in the shop. We are, transitioning to be a true platform to offer payments and marketing as well on top of the repair.
I think that's so key, right? Like I learned a long time ago, it was a groundbreaking thing when somebody started talking in some of the groups we were talking about. And it's like when you would have their appointment and you were there doing their oil change on their car, you probably have seen similar things. They would be telling you now to make the appointment for 3 months out from now. Sure. For the next one, right? I'm dating myself now because now we don't say 3 months, we say 6 months, but it's the same thing. It was such a cool concept, but like you said, I have a little tiny dog. I have a little white Maltese, and so she's a dog you have to take the groomer. Now I don't have
doodles.
to ever so I don't ever have to remember that it's time to take her. I get I get a phone call and I get an email and I get a text all from the groomer saying, this is your appointment for Lucy.
Yep.
Great. Because I haven't remembered, like, when I made it 3 months ago, she goes every 3 months, what date I made it on. And I'm not, like, I carry a phone around, but I don't immediately go 3 months from now and stick it in my phone. Like, I just make it the priority. It's the same time every day. It's always a Saturday morning, early in the morning, get it in, get it done, right? The whole thing. I'm so blessed that people have been able to embrace that in my industry because it's the reluctance used to be, while I'm broke down or I need something addressed, I'll go in and get that maintenance thing done. Sure. And now when we start to be preemptive about it and go, hey, let's get you in here 6 months from now for your next thing, it streamlines up, and that's another chance to connect with my customer and go, okay, so your appointment's for this. Is there anything else going on with your car at the same time? And they're like, yes, actually. Absolutely. I've started to hear some things, or I've started to, notice it seems to want to crank a little slow and it's cold. Can you look at this, and this? That's been so paramount for us not just being a reaction-based business to what they come to us with, but an advocacy for what they actually need to be doing for their car.
Yeah, it's just like going in for your yearly checkup with the doctor, right?
Yeah, I don't.
And well, I started. Sunil was in the medical the world, so he's like, "Have you gotten this checkup?" And I'm like, "I don't have time for all these checkups, Sunil. So like, you can control my calendar." No, I'm joking. Yeah. But I did, and I think it's you. Actually, I was going back because I just had this, and my PA was like, is there anything else you want to talk about? He is not my therapist, right? By any means, but like you almost put yourself in a position to be a trusted advisor or consultant. And it's amazing when you just ask those questions, what comes out, and you find things. The other part about appointments, right? With cars or even your dog, I'm the same way. We have 2 doodles that are just like there's so much grooming that needs to be done with these. Nobody told me about this. I should have just stuck with the labs.
Yes.
They're wonderful, but we had to go bougie and get doodles. No, but like it takes the thought process out of it so that you don't lose that customer going just like, hey, I'm going to go get a quick oil change, right? You're taking the thought out of it and you're meeting the customer where they are. And there's a chance that they have to reschedule, but you've also put them in this like, I don't want to feel guilty of not showing up, so I'll just reschedule and come back, or I'll just show up, right? So there's a psychology behind the appointment reminders and getting it back in.
And I see that talk once in a while that people are talking about actually when people make an appointment and cancel in the automotive space, that maybe there should be a fee attached, right? Because people do it. Now,
I've heard some shops actually
I know that if I don't make Lucy's appointment, and I don't give them 24 hours notice, they are going to charge me a certain amount. Sure. And I don't get mad at them or think that I'm getting ripped off or angry about it, because I understand how it works, that like if they lose that spot, that's revenue they don't generate, money, right? Correct. It costs them money. So it's totally fair. But when we talk about it in the automotive space, they're like, I'm not doing that. How are you going to I'm going to scare all those people away. Okay, if we want to run where it's like I need a car count that's X in order to be the nut at the end of the day on what it's going to take, I need people to understand that it's important that when they make an appointment, I meet them where they need to be. I help them, give them every other means that it's like, okay, you can't wait. Okay, cool. Here's a loaner. Here's an Uber. Here's a bus. Whatever we do, right? And we are able to keep that contracted obligation on both sides, where we're going to deliver to them and they're going to be, coming into us, because otherwise, I see it all the time where I've been that guy at the dealership where there was 40 appointments that day. 20 of them didn't come in. Guess what? A lot of techs didn't make any money that day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
I would also implore you as a shop owner to really question, are those the customers that you want to have?
Yes.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And so if they're not willing to respect your time, are they the customers that you want to have in your shop?
Yeah.
And you have to be okay with that. It's also raise your labor, right? That's also kind of that fear there of, if I do this, I'm going to lose those customers. Well, you are the expert at what you do, and you should be paid for that expertise. And it's okay, because you're going to get the right customer in the door who will respect and pay for that.
Yeah. And I say it all the time. Raise your rates, RYR isn't a one fix for all your shop problems, but damn it, it's the first good fix every time. First step, is always go up. Sure. Don't go down, always go up. And it because you get some immediate money back in. Right? If you don't change the expenses, you don't raise it and then give them a raise, your technicians, your workforce, whatever, you get a little bit of buffer there. And then you decide, okay, that buffer is going to be to cover the fact that if I'm not paying my technicians on a flat rate, if I'm paying them hourly, and all of a sudden now my rate's up $5 more and 2 appointments don't come in, it's not hurting me as much that I didn't get those jobs. Right?
Absolutely.
And that's why I think when we go to this, if you make the appointment and you cancel or don't show, and I hit you with this fee, that's to cover even more, I think, for the techs that are being paid hourly versus flat rate, and you don't come in. You understand that they have to get paid somehow.
Yeah.
Of course.
Right? And the margins have always been so thin anyway in our industry that if we can do every little thing that's frankly accepted now in the everyday,
industry.
we should be able to bring it into ours.
Yeah.
That's how I feel anyway.
I agree. I mean, I do think that it's very exciting with us adding in our marketing solution functionality, and from personal experience, we talk about dentists. I have never missed a dentist appointment as a result of having that
those
confirmation,
appointment
having
reminders.
the reminders, and by having those involved into your appointment processes, the more of those that you have, the more it's mitigating the potential loss of those appointments. So your show rate is going to increase because people are seeing that. You're having that complete communication process, frankly, even with a new customer. It's the entirety of that journey experience that we now have access to, whether they're before, as a new customer coming in, during, while they're in the shop, going through the entirety of what processes you have in place to keep them informed, be transparent, have some empathy, build that loyalty and trust. And then even after the fact, where you're doing follow-ups for whether it's services that they didn't choose to do that day, simple thank yous, follow-up for internal feedback or Google reviews, having those tools in place, you have that full journey experience, which it takes it even further than the dentist. The dentist doesn't ask me if I liked my time.
I think they know better.
I don't like the dentist.
I'm not
over
a fan
your
either.
face, in your mouth.
And the flip side of always how we used to do it, and I've seen shop owners again do this, is they always intentionally overbook.
Yes.
Right? So then what happens is that in the perfect world where all of a sudden nobody cancels, then the wheels fall off the bus.
Absolutely.
And all of a sudden you have all these people that you're calling at the end of day or even to 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock, lunchtime going, guess what? We're not going to be able to get to you today. And what do you tell them? You make up something, you spin a yarn or whatever. But the reality is because we are always booking a little bit more than what we can probably get through because we can always count on 1 or 2 are not coming in. And 1 or 2, if it's just small jobs, it's not the end of the world.
Sure.
Somebody might drop in unexpectedly. That's our industry too, right? People drop in. Hey, I got a nail in the tire. Or, hey, it's towed in because it won't run. But when we start to say, oh my God, I've had to really let down some people at day's end because everybody showed up, that's when it's time to rethink our process.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
So people that are listening to that, just think about that. If you're doing that where it's always you're saying yes, 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 because you're counting on somebody to not be a no-show. When you start to really get your stuff together, there's less no-shows. And then you have to really, again, do the same with less customers for the same amount of money. That's what we're all chasing at the end of the day. Technician goes right back to it. I want to work on as few cars as possible and make as much money as possible, because it's the time in between. I'm not putting the wrench to the car that's costing me the time.
Yep.
Right.
Absolutely. Although many probably don't want to change the engine. They'd rather do brakes. Or
I was always a guy, I was a guy that I just wanted to sit in the seat and look at the computer.
Yeah.
That's where my strength was, right? Because then it was like, okay, I can, and not everybody can do that. But if I had to rack 20 cars entire season in Canada, sucks.
Oh my gosh.
Sucks. It's terrible.
It's actually
horrible.
quite different up there. I've read,
different.
I think it's like 70% do a tire changeover or something like that.
Well,
Because they require it by law up
Well,
there?
there's some
So,
provinces
Quebec,
that have
yes,
laws.
mandatory snow tires.
It's
Yeah.
fascinating
And you
because
get
down here it's very low in
tickets.
comparison.
Yeah.
Although last season it was pretty far out. I mean, like the seasons are just shifting.
Yeah. We didn't get a lot of snow last year,
didn't.
but they don't care. If you're in Quebec
They'll
and you
still
don't have
charge
snow
you.
tires on, you're still pulling you over and you're checking you out. And it all has to do with, like, again, the roads in Quebec versus the roads even in Ontario, one province over, suck. So you can't, and it's not so much like just the condition of the road. They're bad themselves. They're pothole city is Montreal.
Sure.
But if you look at how the budget that they decide is snow removal, they don't use it as much in Quebec. So you have to be, if you want to get where you're going, you're doing three things: public transit, walking, or you're putting snow tires on your vehicle.
Sure.
And it's just, hey, if you didn't get where you need to be because you didn't use those three things, oh well.
Yeah, that's where the appointment booking becomes very important, right? Because you also are booking out starting in 3
Yes.
months out from season, and then you also have to change the tires that you have in inventory or you're holding.
It's
super complex.
Canada is a completely different demographic. Just before even it was mandatory, the tire thing was, even if we weren't putting snows on, people tended to come in spring and fall, and that's when we sold them new tires, right? So, like in the Canadian business model of automotive, we build the whole business model around the tire in Canada, where I see it nowhere else, even in the U.S. Even in the U.S. that gets part snow more than us, they don't build their model that way, and it as a technician, it frustrates you because you go home at the end of the tire season, like every day, sore. It is a lot of lifting. It's a lot of, they stink. They're dirty. They're always wet. Your hands are cold. Like, it just sucks.
Yeah.
Well, and it's important because it drives those other sales and it drives that relationship. But I mean, like, people are starting to figure out that it's like, I don't care if they buy their tires somewhere else. I'm not a tire store.
Yeah.
I am a repair center. So it's like, I want just the repairs. But we, unfortunately, are so trapped with, if we don't get the tire business, they may not come into a shop
At
for
all.
6 months from
Right.
now when they come off. There could be a whole lot of things wrong with their car that they don't even know about. So that's where it's always driven us that, unfortunately, like, we have to do it. It's just, it sucks. I always liked it when it was like, the car comes in for that, but we had apprentices that did the tire work, and I was focusing on the brakes, the suspension, the drivability problems, all that kind of stuff. And they did my tires for me, and I just put them on the car.
Yeah.
And it was done. Like, I wasn't fighting to get them. And, we could do a whole rant just on tires, like wheel lock keys.
lot.
People, if you're listening and you have a wheel lock key on your car, take it off right now for me, please.
No one's stealing rims. If they're taking the whole car if
Listen,
they need it.
I can buy the tool that I need to remove the locking key for under $20.
Right.
If I really want your rims that bad, I'll spend the $20 and I'll have it, and I'll still have them off.
No doubt.
Because we do it every day long when the customer
Not
comes
going to
in.
his shop. I'm just.
It's okay. You can buy it on Temu. It's that's where they buy them. So
Do
it's
they?
it's not a situation of like we want to frustrate you or anything like that. It's just people don't understand that. I want to be out of here by 10 o'clock. Cool. All right. I see you at 8:30. I'm clocking 90 minutes to do 4 tires to get your car out of here. All of a sudden, where's the wheel lock key? The what?
Yeah.
The wheel lock key. Oh, I got snow boots and some snowboards in the back and all this kind of stuff. It's now a 20-minute adventure to try and find the wheel lock key.
If you find it.
If you find it.
Yes.
So
Think
what do
it's
I
in
do
my
now
glove
to
compartment.
still make the appointment
I think
time?
so.
Oh, yeah,
I think Ed told me I have
Yeah,
one.
you do.
So,
I'm pretty sure.
yeah, I
Do you
just
drive
bought it.
it's
I
a
bought
Tesla?
a Kia
No, she's a
Telluride.
Telluride.
Oh,
Yep.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Nice
It's
cars.
so beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're great.
They are nice cars, and they do. I'm pretty sure come from the
Ed
manufacturer
told me.
with the
Yes.
wheel locks on.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do. You have the option in your glove box. I'm pretty sure
think
to
he
have
said it's
those
in my glove
swapped out
box.
for the standard ones. They are there.
I'm not there yet,
So
so-
get there.
It's okay.
I'll get there.
We'll
Yeah.
get you there. This will
I'm
help.
still enjoying the butt seats that are heated.
Yeah.
And, oh God, it's so nice.
But-
Although I should have known better. I had a Kia Sorento 2013 and the knock sensor.
Mm-hmm.
I went through all of that, and
Yeah.
Kia basically told me it was negligence on my part. And here I am with a Telluride, but they're so beautiful.
So
God, they're
I'll
so
say this: Hyundai and Kia are the most improved. We say it all the time. I work at a
Yeah.
used car lot, so I see a lot of used cars
Yeah.
come in, and on from all makes and models. Doesn't matter. They are. It'd be like the most improved student award
Sure. Yeah.
for like
Mm.
in the last 10 years from where they were to where they've come. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Oh,
like
without
the
a doubt.
quality level. You look at a Telluride now, and you're like, man, that is a really nice vehicle. Or Palisade, really nice vehicle.
Yeah.
Like, and you're like, that shouldn't be. It's a what? Oh, wow. You look at the new Santa Fe's; they're modeling them.
We
after,
have one.
They
They're
look like
beautiful.
Range Rovers, right?
And see, that's
That's why
it.
I feel like
My
the
wife wanted
Telluride
a Range
looks
Rover, and I
the same.
said,
Yeah.
we are not going down that
That's
path.
right.
But the Santa Fe came out, and
Yeah.
I showed it to her. I was like, look, it is literally,
Yeah.
it is it's exactly what you want.
we could
And
buy you two Santa Fe's so that one,
we can
when
afford
you're-
it.
because
It
the
has a
Range
good
Rover's going to be
warranty.
in the shop just as much.
right.
Exactly.
If not more.
That's actually why I bought the Telluride. So I bought it. It's like dark gray, the black rims, the
Nice.
beautiful grill.
Yeah.
There's no silver
We
on
actually
it.
came
Like,
from a
it is-
Telluride too,
Yeah.
so
Ugh.
yeah, they are beautiful. I was part of the founders club for the Telluride. I had been
Oh.
watching it for a couple of years at the
Very cool.
shows out in Colorado, I think. But yeah, so I obviously put my email in somewhere at some point, and when we purchased said Telluride, I got an email saying we are sending you $750 for
did
being
not
part
get
of the
that.
founders club.
I did not get that experience. It's not a great experience.
That was back.
If you really love this one
pre-COVID.
and buy a second one after, I'm sure they're going to really like.
Probably.
Yeah.
I will get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
Well,
had great value on our when we traded in. It was phenomenal value that it maintained,
Well,
which was unexpected.
Once
so.
I get done paying money on my husband's Ford F-150 Platinum and all
Oh,
the
yeah,
stuff that I've just put
that's-
into that guy, we'll maybe get another Telluride. Never.
They are.
2 turbos.
2 turbos.
I was just going to
and a
ask.
tiny
Yeah.
belt. God, it was the worst.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
shaking because you know you.
I did
Oh,
look.
yes,
I
I've
did
seen
look
it.
up in Tekmetric if the price that I was being quoted was a
And
fair price.
I bet you did. That's
I did.
naturally what I do anytime
I
I'm
know.
getting my car worked on and
Yeah.
make sure. But
Not that I don't trust
No.
my shop, but it's actually
Shit,
like a
twin
cool
turbos and
experience
timing
to be
chains
able to
and
understand
the whole-
and like look.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was.
And see, that's where some of us like in some of the channels I run with, that word fair is a
Yeah.
very like sometimes it's a detested word because
Yeah.
actually what does it really mean, right? And we go back to like I had a great conversation today where it's like I'm going to charge you $800 for a brake job. I'm going to charge you $1,000 for a brake job at shop A, shop B. Is either one unfair? No. What are you comparing again, right? So it's like when you go back to that as an example, it's like we get into where a lot of what you're really looking at is canned jobs from a place.
Yes.
Where it was like this dealer had done it, so it was this price. This dealer done it, they average it all out maybe and say, or 100 of them were all within $10 of each other. That's cool. And then you might see the other guy and he's using really questionable, like Temu turbos maybe. Right?
Thank God we did not use them.
Yeah. So it's all of a sudden you're seeing the really low number, and you're like, that's fair.
Yeah.
Well, it's not fair because
Yeah.
that one is going to be like, I mean, and I'm not running down Temu, but you know what I mean. But you could
I
end
order
up in
Temu all the time. Don't
in
tell
6
anybody.
months, you could end up with a broken car again, and then you're like, well, that's not all that fair.
Yeah.
So
You know what? I think that's a really valid point, and it was a poor choice of words.
No,
and
I'm not-
no, on my part, but I actually like. We work in the industry. We work, we're not in the shop all the time, but even I, as the customer,
Yeah.
still have that feeling and that belief. But what it comes down to is I just don't know.
Yep.
I don't know actually what you are buying it for.
Yeah.
And so that is where it's not a distrust. It's
No.
just a lack of knowledge of what are you presenting to me, because that is a large cost that I am about to incur.
Yes.
And so it is meet me where I can understand what it is actually that costs for you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to know the whole thing, but I think that there is this You have to be able to coach your customer because they just don't know.
Yeah. I had a great conversation this morning. I'm sitting in the back of the class, and because I do this now, right, a large part of my time, I'm very comfortable interrupting.
Yeah.
So somebody is up front in the classroom and they're asking the Becky that's putting on the thing, and they're like, well, what do I say to a customer when they ask me, why am I $200 more than the dealership? And I don't even put my hand up. I blurt out from the very back row, it's okay to tell them that your techs are better than the dealership. It's a mindset.
I love that.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
And of course,
sometimes you have to train people.
But are they going to question
in
that?
the first place?
Again, like, it's
They're
just
not
like asking, like,
Yeah.
just ask.
Yeah.
The worst thing that somebody can say is no. So, like, what is a customer going to say? Like, oh, they're better than the
I kind
dealership.
of like that.
I would have
I'm
so
willing to
much
pay
I'll
for
pay
more.
for that.
I would have so much respect for my counter person if that is their go-to answer.
Yeah.
Because I know that they
Absolutely.
really have my back.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
I may not be all the time as good as the dealer tech, but like if somebody at least has that faith in me, or that's what they're telling people, they're bragging me up, right? Then I feel really good about going to work every day and really trying to do that 1% more.
Yeah.
You know, and it's the same thing. It goes back to like meet them where they are. Well,
Yeah.
I want to be able to speed that process up. And that's what I loved Tekmetric, going back to the DVI thing, and it's integrated and all that kind of stuff, because I used to be able to bring them out in the bay and have a 20-minute conversation that didn't want to be 20 minutes, but it always wound up being 20 minutes about, this is the water pump that's leaking, and that's you're seeing drips on the ground, and oh yeah, it's behind the timing belt, and it's a big ordeal and all this kind of stuff. Now, I can film that in a video and send it to them, and if they don't understand, they can play the video back, and they might, that's so powerful.
It's powerful.
Absolutely. And I mean, your description there that you put into that DVI, it can be as powerful as you walking out to that shop and showing them. It's as though that you've taken that whole experience of what you were accustomed to, putting it into a digital format and meeting the customer where they are, whether that's on the phone and an email. Rarely are they sitting there in the shop where you're going to walk them out under that water pump in the first place.
Yeah.
It's providing them the exact information in a modern, clean format, and just meeting them exactly where they need to be. Nobody wants to replace a water pump, but you're giving them the reason and the why behind it.
Yeah.
I think that the same concept about, when we get shop owners that we walk into shops all the time, or even here, why Tekmetric?
Yeah. What
makes you different? It's the same concept of a shop or a customer asking, like, why are you more expensive than the shop down the street? And it comes back to every single decision that we make starts with the why.
Yeah.
And as much as, like, I've experienced this industry, it has been so powerful to witness how Tekmetric makes decisions and what we build and how we build it and why we build it. And every decision comes back to, are we driving the best customer experience? And does it make sense in the overall workflow of a shop? And so everything that we do, I know, is for the betterment and is better because of the decisions that every single day we wake up and have conversations about and make in the process of building this technology and continue to evolve.
So give me an example of how, because I know, like, when somebody contacts you guys and says, okay, I want Tekmetric in my shop, what starts? What's the first, like, do people come from the company and kind of help them do the transition?
It's different on where it comes in.
It's all situational, exactly, depending on where that, whether the customer reached out directly
Marketing.
to us via our
Website.
marketing channels, through our website. If I'm showing up in the shop and talking to that owner and they get a level of interest and decide to ultimately pull that trigger. Frankly, different shops choose different paths as well.
Right.
We do offer some
training.
on-site training that can be incredibly hands-on and super powerful for, especially for bigger shop operations that really want to completely change the entirety of the concept of their business, or frankly, a new shop that might want to set things up properly right from the get-go.
From the jump,
So we have a variety of different methods associated. No matter the scenario, if a shop signs up with Tekmetric, they're immediately assigned a dedicated training and onboarding manager to make sure that the initial processes of their shop setup are structured the same way, no matter what. And then from there, that's where it gets like, maybe they want that on-site training. Maybe I show back up again a week later because I happen to be in the area again.
Right.
And this is where those customer results come into play and are so important, because it also helps the dedicated onboarding consultant really understand the areas that we need to lean in on, and where we need to, as they go through the customer journey of Tekmetric, to continue to come back to and say, like, okay, we talked about DVIs being the way that we're going to drive more car count. So like, we can see that you're not utilizing the DVIs, and we can help step in and coach. Or if we know that you're working with a coach, how can we work with them together to utilize the tool? Like, this is where it becomes incredibly powerful.
I was just going to say
we're
that,
not just a tool. Like, we
Right.
become an extension of your business, and it becomes powerful. And I think too, the other part of that is, like, Aaron and the team, while they aren't, out there doing onboarding or training, they have so much knowledge on the tool that they go to visit shops that are not using Tekmetric, but there's a mixture of shops that they do go visit, and they also become this leg of, they'll walk in and a customer's like, hey, I need help doing X, Y, and Z. Setting up my parts matrices and connecting my vendors. Those are things that happen in onboarding, but there are things that happen where, we do have boots on the ground. And so there's, at every level and journey of the shop, we meet you exactly where you are.
I think that's so powerful, because when you mentioned the coaching thing, like, that is it's becoming almost the norm now, that a lot of shop owners that I approach and talk to, and I talk to a lot of them, or I talk to technicians that they know their shop owner has a coach. That's great. Now that when you say that they can actually integrate in terms of like familiarity with what the coaches are going to be talking about, and the software system that they have in place, like it can almost work together. Like, there's getting to be, well, I don't want to say no excuse, but like we're eliminating so much of that waste. You know what I mean? It's so powerful. Like, I'm so excited about what the tech brings, the technology to this industry. Like, it's because we see all the time, I need more hours done. I need more labor sold. I need more, like, we all do. And we're pulling from a lot of people are in tough financial situations right now. It's not great out there, right?
Sure.
So, but if we continue to show them value, man, they're going to always still choose to do the right thing, which is keep that vehicle, reliable and safe, because it's a lot of people now, it's their biggest investment they're making in life, unfortunately.
Absolutely.
They're not buying homes, right? They're buying vehicles.
Right.
Because they can't afford both.
Keeping the vehicles obviously longer because of that same problem and challenge, without a doubt.
Yeah. Like, you're going back to your husband's truck there. Just a few short years ago, they've
still not over that one.
No, they probably would have just traded that in, right? And a lot of people still do.
We assessed
I probably
that,
would
right?
have.
We would have assessed it. But at the same time, our shop owner was like, this engine is so good. And I advise you, because I asked him, what would you do? Mm-hmm. Right? Just like when I go to my hairdresser, you do what you want. Like, you are the artist in this. There's a level of trust that I have to say, like, I don't want to come out with like pink hair or blue hair. Like, we're not like, please be kind.
Might rock a mullet.
Mullets, perms.
My husband would love that. But like, there is a level of trust that I expect out of my shop owner, of like, I want you to tell me what you would do in this situation. Mm-hmm. Just like when you go to a restaurant and you want your waiter to tell you what are the best things on the menu. Yeah. I want you to tell me exactly what I should do, and I want it to be what you would do. Yeah. And so his guidance was, this engine is fantastic. You are not going to get this. This is just something that you need to do because of where the car is and the miles that it's at. This is expected, but I can promise you that this truck will be humming, and I trust him. Mm-hmm. Right. And it took a while for me. He didn't push me. He didn't push us. He recognized that it's a really big investment that we were making. We have small kids. We're paying for a lot of things. Life is just expensive right now. Sure. And the fact that he empathized with me, empathetically met me where I was. He empathized with that. Went a long way. Yeah. And you bet I will take my car back every single time.
Yeah.
I think that's actually, in itself, how I helped grow some of the customer trust in our building was if I saw a scenario that I didn't kind of personally feel like I would follow, you need a $7,000 engine in this vehicle.
Yeah.
It's rotting out underneath.
Yeah.
I kind of think it's probably time to move on from this vehicle. Just having that direct connection with that customer can make them a customer for life as well.
Yeah. It's where going back to, it can cost 5 times as much to get a new customer as keep the customer that you have. I never understood the real value, real meaning of what it was to advocate until I started to really get in with Lucas and start to understand. And that man, I've never seen anybody live advocacy for his customers and his clientele and his people and everybody that he meets the way that he does. It's remarkable to see. And it's so cool because I have been with some people in the past, and it's like, it doesn't matter what condition the car is in, you just table everything it needs and don't make the decision for them. And I've always at the point where it's like, I don't feel good if I'm going to put an engine into something that when I on the road test, I felt like the tranny also didn't feel great.
Sure.
And then when I look underneath and it's starting to get, they haven't undercoated it and it's starting to rust pretty heavy. I want to be at least truthful enough to say to them, okay, here's where we are with this. I had a really cool scenario. A customer comes to me. They bought a 2019 Volkswagen Tiguan, 180,000 kilometers. So in the communist units of kilometers, say it's got over 100,000 miles on because it's Canada, right? They call us Canada.
When I run on a treadmill in Canada, I am so freaking confused. I feel like I've run so far and I haven't. So
no, you
keep
have
going.
not. So if you say 10 kilometers, you've gone 6 miles.
Yes.
But anyway, so she says to me, she's had the car a month, and all of a sudden, and again, the used car market is normally why they were traded or wound up at auction or whatever in the first place finally rears their ugly head, right? Now, sometimes we get in, we drive them right away, and we know. But other times there's phantoms in the machine, we call it. And you get these cars. So anyway, she says to me, she comes back and she's got a check engine light on. And so I'm on a road test with her because she's only had the car 3 weeks and already it's got a check engine light on. When we sold it to her, it did not have a check engine light on. It had no prior anything to give us a thing. And when we safety a car, we're making the car safe to pass the government standards of what it has to be for safety. We don't actually go and look at everything that hasn't been done. Or okay, maybe we should be preemptively changing these parts of it because they're known to failure. That's not how you would run a used car lot. Doesn't make sense.
Sure.
So anyway, she says to me, I still have X amount of weeks before I could get out of this car. Should I get out of it now? And I'm like, first of all, you can't really ask me that kind of question because you're putting me in a really awkward spot because I'm telling you that you should have never bought this, right? That's what you're hoping I say. I can't say that.
Yeah.
Right. My people that I are employed and I really appreciate them employing me and I like them and they treat me well, I can't say that. Well, how do I then advocate for them? And I'm like, I was in a real stuck and we're kind of driving around listening to the car and I'm thinking for a minute, I go, here's what I can tell you. When people come to me and ask me what should I buy, I don't normally recommend European cars in the used market.
Sure.
That was the best way that I could think of to say the same thing that I wanted to say without putting myself in a tough spot. And this is where, I'm always going to advocate, but I'm also going to be really truthful. And that's where in the industry we have to get back to telling the truth.
Yep.
Not covering it up under tactics, I guess is the word I want to use, right?
Agreed.
Well, in a mistrusted industry that we talk about, right, that is what you have to do. And majority of the time, the things that are right to say are the things that are hard to say, right? Yeah. And it's also, I think about things that are happening in the world right now and the messaging that's going on of just being vulnerable with saying things that make people uncomfortable. Yeah. You just have to because it's the right thing to do. Don't lie. Show up for people.
Yeah.
Say hard things.
Yeah.
Because that actually means you care about people. Yeah. Telling them something other than the truth.
Yeah. And we have to do it in the shop all the time. I have to be able to look at people from a standpoint of ability and go, I know that technician is strong here and weak there. Mm-hmm. Right? I don't want to fluff them and say that they are great everywhere. I'm going to be very truthful. It's not even criticism anymore. It's just a situation of look, this is where I know where we need to work. And this is where I know you're killing it here. Yeah. Those are the kind of conversations we need to be having. And it's the same with the customers, right? I don't.
Your
I've
employees
seen,
want that.
and employees, and I've seen people like, well, your transmission's blown up because you didn't do the maintenance. That's not the way to say that. The way to say that is, well, I understand that the maintenance manual tells you that by 100,000 we should have changed the fluid. You're at 140 and you never changed the fluid. Here's the reality about this, right? Is that I'm not saying that because you didn't cause this, they're really a known failure point anyway.
Sure.
Right? But here's what I have also seen other people advocate for is we do the service interval at half the interval.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh, okay. I just wish somebody had told me that. Well, that's how, when you're really truly advocating, you're not upselling anymore. What's your, and it's a feel thing.
Yes.
Like, what's your commitment to this vehicle? I replace every 5 years. Okay, that's a completely different customer for me than it's like, I had to save everything that I had to be able to buy this. And I in no foreseeable future do I see myself without this.
Right.
Okay, that's a very different customer to have. And we used to think that one was way better than the other. It's not. Because it's a lot of work for either in this industry right now. Both require a ton of work, a ton of advocacy, a ton of conversation. But if I'm looking at that 10-year customer of that vehicle, well, I start right from the beginning of it. This is what you're going to have to treat this as if you want to see it get to that number. It most certainly can. It doesn't matter what you buy. It's nothing that parts and money can't fix. But we have to think about this from a long... I use the term long ball all the time.
Yeah.
You're either playing long ball or you're playing just short. Both work sometimes. And that's where true advocacy for me is really coming about, because I have to get to know my customer. It's tough. And we have to, again, slow down to do that.
Yeah. It's so important.
You guys do it too when you come into a shop. Yeah.
Well, you can actually, so there's contextual clues, right? When you read a shop, right? You can start having a conversation, and you may walk in and you think you're going to have a conversation about one thing and you want to find out this information, but then you pick up on things and you have to be willing to go down that hole with the shop owner, because that's actually where you find the need. So I think it comes back to listening, taking the time to listen and being present and doing the right thing. So.
Yeah.
What's the biggest obstacle you're seeing right now with people being able to adjust to Tekmetric?
The time they invest.
Yeah.
I mean, quite frankly, I would say it's the time that they're willing to invest to a short-term investment for a long-term gain of the software. You can be up and running within, as little as 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks.
I think the average can be, if you want it to be 2 weeks where you are fully ramped up, ready to rock on our program in full, 2 weeks is like an exact number, but you need to invest. It's a learning curve.
Mm-hmm.
It's a software that's easy to use by design on purpose, but it's still a new program. It's still a new direction. If you commit to it, everything about it supports and shows that there's value in the back end.
I think you also have to have a champion in the shop.
Okay.
You have to have a champion who is there saying that this is what we are doing, whether it's you as the shop owner or your service advisor or whoever it is.
It needs to be that owner. The
owner really does.
That's the champion.
You have to have somebody championing that this is what we're doing, right? I mean, you can so quickly get off the beaten path so quickly, and nobody's bought in. So you have to be bought in that this is what you're doing, and you need to show up.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you approach a shop and you're saying, okay, we're going to come in and bring this in, is it commonplace to say, back your appointment schedule down a little bit so that we have a little more time?
No, frankly, we don't want them to lose any aspect of their business.
Okay.
It can be a pretty seamless transition overall, where the amount of commitment to getting trained and onboarded appropriately, even in that 2-week ramp up time, is just a matter of putting an hour aside on a Monday, putting an hour aside on a Wednesday to get through these basic processes of getting the back end of that shop built up, so your digital inspection property is all set, your parts vendors are integrated, your labor's prepared and ready to go, and then we generally, if they're in a program already, are committing to a go live date with them on purpose, We get a data team in there on a Friday night when they close for business. We pull their data from their potentially 20, 30, 40, 50 years worth of customer history, vehicle history. We don't want them to start their business over.
Yeah.
We want to help them make their business better headed forward.
Yeah.
What do some of the, like, for instance, like, what seems to be the resounding feelings from, like, say, parts vendors towards Tekmetric?
Well, we have some strong partnerships in the parts game for sure. So statistically, when a shop makes a transition over to Tekmetric, as a result of that shop following these processes, they are increasing their revenues. By increasing their revenues, they are buying more parts. So the parts vendors generally find some great value in any shop that switches to Tekmetric,
Right.
whether that shop is exclusively buying from them or not. It's not about, we can't say that shop A is going to start buying more parts from you,
said
vendor,
Yeah.
because they switched to Tekmetric, but we can say they're going to be buying a lot more parts, and therefore you're going to get a piece of that additional size.
We ran, so it's about 21% increase in parts volume.
That's good.
Correct.
I mean, that's huge, right? I mean, that's what a
If you're running your matrix properly and marking up your parts, that's a big chunk of change.
Correct.
21% is probably easier to make on parts than it is on labor,
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Well, and you're streamlining the process. You talked about it earlier about how shops were buying parts, right? So not only are we helping to minimize the time that they're taking, we're also giving it to them in a better user experience, so that we're taking the thought out of it and it's quicker. So they're buying more parts because they're getting more cars through the door. So I think it's just, we have very good relationships with parts vendors. Yeah.
Before we wrap it up, so what's one piece of advice that you can say to people that are going to make the switch to Tekmetric? I'll ask each of you to.
Ooh.
Well, I said it already, and I will repeat it again, because I think it is probably the most common and biggest valued advice I could give. Tekmetric is not going to operate like your existing setup. We are going to be different, but that is all done by design and with intent. And if you commit to that process that we are guiding you through, there's no turning back, and there's no, you're only, the biggest thing that shop owners actually tell us more often than not, years later, is, why didn't I do this years ago? It's amazing. And even those that have been using that same system for 30 years, they're like what was I holding back? That's it. So that's definitely it. It's like, don't expect us to operate the way you had it. Embrace the change, embrace the new, and I promise you will see those results. We will deliver those results.
Awesome.
Yeah. I mean, that was kind of a mic drop. That was really good. That was really good. Honestly, I think that to summarize that, what comes to mind is just lean in. Mm-hmm. Be willing to lean in, and we are willing to lean in as well.
And
right?
I'm gonna close with this. I'm gonna go back to what I said. When rip that Band-Aid off. Don't try to hold on to doing some processes in the shop with paper and pen and letting the other half of the people use the software system, and then, because it just bottlenecks. Don't do it. Get everybody up to speed, get them on the same page, and just let the thing do what it's meant to do, and it will work. If you have people that are struggling, like if you have, we know it, some old techs are like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, here's the thing. I hate to say it, but either that tech might not be,
This might not be your tech anymore.
Yeah. Unfortunately, now the other thing with the shortage the way it is, then maybe you have to adjust your processes so it's like, he writes everything on paper, or she, because she refuses, and then somebody has to go and punch it into Tekmetric. If that's what it takes to get the car fixed, then that's unfortunately what it takes to get the car fixed. But if you can, don't you as a manager say, I'm going to have the front counter run Tekmetrics, but I'm going to have the techs write everything on paper in the back. Because I worked through the bottleneck. I saw it. I hated it. It drove us crazy. Now, again, some of that was on me because I had a hard time getting up to speed on Tekmetric, but that was because, I didn't have time to get familiar with it. I just had a bunch of cars to get through.
Sure.
And the old me was just like, okay, I understand the process is the process, but here's what I need this part ordered for this car to get this car done so I can get to the next 3 that day. Yeah, everybody has to help one another. Go back to being that team thing again. I think Tekmetric's a very powerful tool for teamwork. So, guys,
we appreciate it. Thank you so much
for coming on.
Thank you.
Like I said,
for having us.
Pleasure.
I put a pitch in for you guys at the job that I'm at, and they went with someone else, but I hope in the future that I can get back on because I love the product. I love how you guys sponsor me, it means to be on the podcast for me, and it's just, I can't thank you enough for it. It's fantastic. So,
well, we appreciate you. Thank you for all you do in the industry. I love it. Having conversations like this really helps move it forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it sounds like we can get you some training too. So
yes.
Just because. We'll get you some training.
It's not just because they said no now doesn't mean it's not.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
It could be. I mean, he's talking
We're
about...
in the long game too.
Yeah, he's talking about a big venture outside of where we're currently at, and then what I think he has that now wouldn't work in that venture. So, I mean, I'll be waving your flag for
if that's MSO venture, we do MSO.
We'll be ready for you.
We have a lot of MSO features.
A lot of multi-shop tools, yes, indeed.
Very cool, guys.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming to AST.
Yeah,
Thank
awesome.
you.
Thank
See
you.
yous.